A win here will bring them closer to top 8. You see Ross with his Noble Hierarch sleeves. Conveniently has Noble Hierarch in his deck. But Rynkiewicz will be on the one on the play. He's got Tropical Island. He's got a Glistener Elf. Round number 14 underway here from Washington, D.C.
There's something interesting. Remember, there's not much evasion here. The creatures will trade. So without trying to know exactly how it works, I would expect having a large quantity of creatures to just be very important here.
Tropical Island, Glistener Elf here for the boss.
Now, Force of Will picked up for Rynkiewicz.
Verdant Catacombs is land number 2 for James.
Well, so you see here, you'd be like, oh, you could play Noble Hierarch and attack his 2/2 into Tom's 1/1, but you have to remember they would still trade even on that line.
Now here is another copy of Glistener Elf with a Tropical Island here for James, so we'll see what's next in just a moment.
A lot of good 1-drops here. Yeah, he does have the Noble Hierarch as well as the second Glistener Elf. And they'll trade. James's dies at the end of the turn.
Because it does have a -1/-1 counter on it.
Right.
And what I think you're going to find is trading early and often.
Yeah, and I mean, you have to trade because that will all, like the score, saying, okay, these guys have to trade. There's no way to get around that. They don't have removal. Pump spells don't get through it. I mean, these Glistener Elves are just going to trade. Might as well have it happen.
Tom does have an Inkmoth Nexus in hand right now. He'll play that, follow up with another Glistener Elf, pass the turn back. Rynkiewicz 1, tap and draw. Got a Brainstorm in hand. He'll start there.
Yeah, right now behind on creatures, actually on James's side.
Found a copy of Berserk along with the Crop Rotation, Basic Forest as well. There's also Windswept Heath hanging out there, so he's got to figure out what he wants to put back.
I imagine you just will see them crop rotate into more Inkmoth Nexus. Pendelhaven, another common target. Once again, Pump Spell's very weak in this matchup.
Yeah, to the effect of, I wonder how they sideboard in this matchup, if they sideboard out cards like Invigorate or Vines of the Vastwood.
That'll really be interesting.
Because you still want to have access to the quick kills, I imagine.
Well, Blighted Agent is still unblockable.
Yep.
So, the Pump Spells they're not useless. They just have limited uses.
Here comes Glistener Elf. There's a trade very quickly.
Yeah, he's made the point. We're still in James's turn, so the elf's not dead yet.
Here's Crop Rotation. We get an Inkmoth Nexus.
See, they're just trying to keep parity. Both players, 1 Inkmoth and 2 Glisteners. All of them have traded so far.
Wasteland here in Ross's hand.
That'll be excellent. That one, of course, can take out James's Inkmoth. Yeah, a lot of the more situational cards, the Force of Wills, the Berserks of the deck in Rynkiewicz's hand, and they're just not going to do much.
Ross going to think for quite a bit here. As much, in fact, as he has played, you wonder how much of the mirror he's actually played. He's been cutting up Delver decks and Abrupt Decays for a long time now, and been loving getting paired against Miracles. But how much of the mirror has he played is the question. Wasteland will take care of Inkmoth Nexus. Is he willing to fire up this Inkmoth Nexus, maybe get in for a point of poison? It looks like the answer is yes. Rynkiewicz will get an Infect. Oh, Tom, what a nice guy. Getting out the token and everything. Here's a preordain for James.
Reload, he needs a creature of his own. Looks like he's found one. Blighted Agent.
A big deal there.
And yeah, I haven't seen too many of these matchups, but it does just seem like the way to get ahead is just more creatures.
Yeah, if there were more creatures in the sideboard that had Infect for either player, I'm sure they would bring them in. You know, the 2/3 for 3 mana.
Cyst Bear.
Yeah,
would be
Cyst
excellent.
Bearer would just be busted in the mirror, I think.
To the fact that they have Necropedes, they'll be very good.
Yeah, those would be great. Saw a Blight Agent there for James. His shield is down. Gonna try to protect himself with Force of Will and or Daze here. The boss may be considering making a big move.
Tom does have the ability to go for, if he has a land here, go for the 10-point kill. He has Invigorate and Become Immense. If he has a Spell Pierce to back it up, it may be worth going in on. Yeah, here we go. Invigorate on Inkmoth. It's a 5/5.
Here's Become Immense. He's going to delve away the entire graveyard. So is this good enough or not? And it is. Tom Ross going to win game number 1 here over James Rynkiewicz.
Rynkiewicz had the Force of Will, but no blue card to go with it.
Yeah. The showdown here between the two Infect decks puts the boss up 1. So now we can take a look at the sideboards here. They're both going to head to their 15 cards. We'll start with Rynkiewicz. He's got some Crows and Grips over there and some other cards. I'll let you take a look and tell us what you think about the
Crows and
sideboard.
Grips, Surgical Extraction, Flusterstorm, Piracy Charm, Submerge, Dismember. So let me talk about the ones that we like here. Piracy Charm can kill a next one very easily. Submerge should be good. So removal seems great here. So Dismember, Submerge, Piracy Charm, all good. Sylvan Safekeeper is interesting here. I don't know how much removal he can expect out of a sideboard. The card I like the most, though, is Sylvan Library. We saw just a lot of trading there. Everyone's dealing Infect damage, so you can draw 4 cards off this thing. That's the slam dunk he has.
Yeah, I think Sylvan Library, and I think both players have it, is just a huge deal. Take a look at Tom's sideboard. He's got a Grafdigger's Cage, a Necropede, 2 Rest in Peace, a Sylvan Library, a Force of Will, a Flusterstorm, 2 Hydroblast, 2 Crows and Grip, 2 Swords of Plowshares, a Savannah, and a Caracas. So actually, it appears Tom is bringing more to the table because he has some white sideboard cards that are nice, and Swords of Plowshares. He's got the Sylvan Library as well, and you gotta love that Necropede in this matchup.
Necropede's great. Necropede is a 2-for-1 in this matchup. Because that -1/-1 counter it gives when it dies, it will definitely cash out on a creature.
Season 3 schedule is what we'll take a look at right now here, where, of course, we did start with Grand Prix Charlotte, which was a lot of fun. Michael Malone was your champion there with Elves in Modern. Then we went to Indianapolis, where Eric Real got the job done with Green-Red Dragons. Baltimore saw Andrew Boswell get the job done for the first time in the Open Series after 8 top 8s with Obs on Aggro. And then we went to Chicago, where Ton Nguyen won with Green-Red Devotion with the introduction of Magic Origins. Then we went to Richmond, and we saw a little bit of Banter Rogue action, but really what we saw was Ray Toddick with Obzon Rally. He was your champion, a very dominant performance that weekend. After that, a Legacy Open in Washington, D.C. Well, that's where we are right now. We're working on crowning a champion. Looks like Dylan Donegan's the front runner here this weekend since he's already locked up for the top 8. Next weekend is London. The Open Series is off. Then after that, we'll have a Modern Open Series in Charlotte, and we'll finish it off with our Season 3 Invitational in New Jersey. Me, you, and Patrick Sullivan will be taking care of that. And of course, for our main events for Season 3, even though there's only one left in Charlotte, it is the Tassiper, the Golden Paw playmat with Bananas the Slave Dog, our favorite member of the playmat. Not that we hate cats, we just really like dogs here on the Open Series. Free and available.
Maybe we're mysteriously ambivalent on the issue on the Open Series. I don't know. There sure are 2 animals on there. Perhaps I like them both. Perhaps I'm allergic to them.
Maybe.
I don't even know.
You won't let anyone know. You won't divulge. It is free and available for all main event Open Series competitors. Last one and last chance to get this is in Charlotte 2 weeks from now.
It's a great playmat.
It is very, very good. Get ready for game number 2 here between Tom Ross and James Rynkiewicz. Learn a little bit more about the boss, the Roanoke native now. He used to live in Louisiana A lot of state championships in Louisiana as well. 5-time Louisiana state champion in Magic.
That is an unreal number.
I know. 3 invitational top 8s with 2 wins back-to-back. That's pretty unreal as well. 4 Open Series top 8s with a W. 1 Pro Tour top 8 at Pro Tour Honolulu circa 2009, and 4 GP top 8s. Used to parkour. Can still do backflips. I actually saw him do one when I was in Roanoke a couple weeks ago. And he's a big Mortal Kombat enthusiast.
Oh, wow.
In Roanoke, while I was there a couple of weeks ago, I got to see, they have this real cool Monday night thing that they do. There's there's like a kind of like a local bar that you can play video games at. So they bring some PlayStations and some Xboxes and stuff, and they have a little. It's actually pretty big Smash Brothers competition that Nick Miller takes part in. And then they had Street Fighter, and they had Mortal Kombat, and Todd and Tom have been playing a lot of Mortal Kombat, but there's one guy they can't beat who won again. I think Tom lost in the finals of the Mortal Kombat tournament playing as Melina, so it was a lot of fun to watch actually.
Now, she's one of the female Ninja Warriors, but she's actually a demon, right?
I believe she is a demon. I believe my Mortal Kombat history is not great. I haven't played in a really long time, but do you know the weapon that Melina uses?
Size.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct. Very good.
One of them
Very
uses
good.
fans and one uses size. I was going on a 50-50 there.
But you did good.
Okay, well, we did all right.
Katana uses the fans.
Okay.
Melina uses the size. James Rynkiewicz uses the Glistener Elf to start off game number 2, as does Tom Ross. That's going to be dazed, however. Interesting. I wonder if Tom's going to fight back if he can.
These creatures, I wonder what kind of premium Tom puts on creatures in this matchup.
Clearly
and
a pretty big
huge
one.
Wow, willing to pitch a Blighted Agent just to get that daze. Wow.
With how quickly Rynkiewicz dazed that Glistener Elf, it leads me to believe that maybe he had a turn 2 kill rolled up. Because I already see an Invigorate in his hand.
Oh, but you can't, oh boy. A turn 2 kill through a Glistener Elf and through a Force of Will. Okay. James swings, Tom will just trade them off.
Yeah. I think Tom is going to block every time, especially when he's on the draw. I mean, it's just too risky to say, I'll take it.
And James is at the race. He looks like double Invigorate.
It's a pure race. I was curious if either player would have poured out any pump spells. Here's a Blighted Agent. It appears that is not the case. But I think if you can trade early and often, that's the plan here. Brainstorm here from Rynkiewicz. He'll draw 3 cards, have to put 2 back, of course. Looks like he found another copy in Invigorate. Jeez. Lines of the Vastwood, too.
It's interesting. I mean, these pump spells are it's good to have enough so that when your opponent doesn't have a blocker, you can make a move. We saw that last time, a bunch of trades and then Tom 10 points all at once. But there definitely isn't too much of a good thing going on here. Remember, they don't make you win creature trades. They're just burn spells. You can think of them as burn spells, and they're only good if you have a lethal amount of them. It looks like he may crack a fetch to shuffle away some number of Invigorates.
He's got so many.
He's got to be aware that Tom also has an Ink Moth, which James cannot contest. So between this Blighted Agent and an Ink Moth and some well-timed pump spells, James has to be concerned that this game's not going to go very long.
If I'm James, too, I'm kind of thinking to myself, look, I mean, how good can your hand be? You played a Glistener out to trade. You used a Force of Will, removing a Blighted Agent. Do you actually, have Invigorate plus Berserk or something, too? And the land to do all of that? Like, if I'm James, I'm not thinking I'm dying next turn. I'll say that. James going to sacrifice that Windswept Teeth. Tropical Island on the way. There's a preordain. So he'll scry to it and then draw a card.
He has the lethal pump spells. Can he get his way through to use them? Looks like he may have drawn more Invigorate.
How lucky.
If Tom doesn't block here, though.
Oh, he's blocking.
Yeah.
It would be very inconsistent with what we've seen so far, I would say. He's been trying to trade at every opportunity. He's certainly given it thought on if he should block or not, but then he's come to the conclusion that, yes, I'm blocking. And I think it's actually even an easier block once he has an Inkmoth Nexus on the battlefield.
Yeah, I mean, and what I've liked is that Tom is playing this matchup with a very clear game plan. The speed with which he's playing that, willing to force that daze and trade off all his creatures. He has, in every situation, been willing to trade off his creatures.
Yep. Rynkiewicz will get a little infect. There is Verdant Catacombs. We're going to head back James' way. He has a Noble Hierarch now.
Note that Tom's not willing to play out his Wasteland at any point. Not willing to use it on mana, just for Inkmoth Nexus.
Yeah, I believe in this matchup for Tom and for James that Wasteland simply reads destroy target Inkmoth Nexus. That's it.
Maybe in a pinch you can make mana with it, but I agree.
There's the Wasteland. Here comes Inkmoth again.
Yeah, Tom not taking the bait. Even though James is stuck on 2 lands, he's not going to go for any of the mana producers.
Noble Hierarch, are we going normal? Oh, yes.
Yeah, looks like it. James has 3 Invigorates in hand.
This plan.
A Force of Will, another blue card to go with it, maybe another Force of Will.
Fire up yet again.
Just going to get chipped down.
Ross flooding a little bit, Rynkiewicz short on lands a little bit. Rynkiewicz not short on pump spells, however. If they combine their hands, they could deal a lot of damage. Ross will draw. Here comes Inkmoth again. Rynkiewicz, nothing for him to do. Up to 4 infect. There's a Glistener Elf. Noble Hierarch's probably going to slow down now. Daze the draw to go along with the Force of Will.
A lot of good situational cards from Rynkiewicz, but where are the creatures?
Yeah, he needs a Blighted Agent really bad right now.
If he gets 1 Blighted Agent, that next attack will be lethal. He has Daze, Force of Will, blue Vines, 3 Invigorates. Remember, he can use the Vines defensively if Tom tries to pump one of his creatures. Vines doesn't actually give your creature hexproof. It says, creature can't be targeted by spells abilities your opponents control, so you can use it on your opponent's creatures.
It's something that actually we see take place a lot in the modern Infect Mirror.
Yes.
When someone's going for it there with Might of Old Crozia and other things, you target their creature with Vine to the Vassalwood, it will counter that Might of Old Crozia. Here's Invigorate.
James willing to trade Invigorate and Noble Hierarch for this Glistener Elf.
Noble Hierarch currently a little bit larger. It'll die due to state-based effects at the end of the turn, however. And away it goes.
James, can he find that Infector? It's a crop rotation. That might work.
It's pretty medium.
Well, yeah, I mean, can he pull one over on Tom, though? If he crop rotates on end step, can he crop rotate on end step, untap, and then deal all the damage? It's close. He would need another land because he'd now have to use the Vines offensively.
Yep. Crop rotation may have been the card that Rynkiewicz was looking for, however. Now he's doing the math.
But yeah, because he used that Invigoration trade Noble Hierarch with Glistener Elf, he doesn't just have enough points of damage off the Invigorates. He'd have to use Vines. I think crop rotation will happen here. It's for Wasteland, going the other route.
Yeah, so this is actually pretty interesting because he could have said, I'm going to get an answer. Well, excuse me. He could have said, I'm going to get aggressive and get my own Inkmoth Nexus and try to kill you, or do I want to get an answer to your Inkmoth Nexus? So he's decided to go the other route, as you said, and get an answer.
And I think the reason he may want to do this is because his life total is at a really pivotal number here. 5 matters a lot because all the counters, all the pump spells in this deck are +4s. So taking another hit off the Inkmoth Nexus is very dangerous because every pump spell is now lethal. Were we at 4 infect, we might have seen him make a different play.
Wasteland works, gets the job done. Ross will draw a card.
I believe it's Become Immense. And this is interesting. It seems to be having both players kind of clogging up with soft permission and pump spells.
Oh, big draw here.
Oh, yeah. Wonder if Tom had a daze, he may just daze for value.
He has one in his hand, but he's electing not to use it. 3 cards coming. 2 will have to go back. Not the best 3 cards I've ever seen there for Rynkiewicz.
Well, one's
but
a creature.
There is a Blighted
yeah.
Agent now. So now he's got to figure out what to put back. Keep in mind, he's got the fetch land on the battlefield, and I believe 2 fetch lands in hand, so whatever he puts back is going to be gone for good.
Well, only if he plays something this turn. But, yeah.
Two cards go back. There's a land, and he's not going to play anything just yet.
Right. So he'll get to keep one of those 2 cards he put back.
Ross will draw a copy of Force of Will.
Remember, he can hard cast that here as well.
He'll just pass the turn back. Rynkiewicz will sacrifice Verdant Catacombs on upkeep.
Yeah.
So going to shuffle away those 2 cards that he put on top of the deck. There's a Tropical Island. Now he'll draw for the turn.
Draw as a Ponder. And these cantrips that James is getting here are going to help him pull farther ahead.
Here's Blighted Agent. It's a real card.
And it's all about the creature advantage. So James took 5 poison off Tom's last Infector. How many is Tom going to take off the Blighted Agent? It may be different. James has a lot more pump spells than Tom had. Invigorates, at least 1, maybe 2, maybe even a Vines. Yeah, Tom's going to try to hard cast Force of Will to counter Blighted Agent.
It's good to go. Back to Ross. Force of Will was the draw yet again, I believe.
I like the discipline from James there. He doesn't have another creature, so there was some temptation for him to maybe force back. But instead, because he has the Ponder, I think he's willing to just let that counterspell happen and doesn't want a 2-for-1 himself.
He found a goodie.
Yeah, I found Sylvan Library.
Yeah,
Yet another Force.
Now, yeah, we're going to see him fight over this.
This one, yeah. James will fight over this one.
Yep. That one's too important.
Especially that uncracked fetch land. This is so... If you want to have a game of who can draw more creatures, this is going to pull James far ahead.
James got a lot of life to work with. So that's why you see him say the Force of Will. There are more important things to be done. He might be sacrificing Windswept Heath. Looks like he's going to wait.
Yeah, that just having an uncracked Windswept Heath is a lot of value, especially with the Sylvan Library.
See, Spell Pierce the draw.
And more soft permission from Tom. No creatures, though. And more importantly, no cantrips.
Yep. Rynkiewicz on upkeep is going to sacrifice his Windswept Heath, get a shuffle, search up a Tropical Island. Wants to see some new cards with this Sylvan Library, so it's time to take a look. Noble Hierarch. Looks like Invigorate and a land there.
Yeah, land is a fetch land, however. Looks like he's going to pay 4 to take the fetch land and the Noble Hierarch.
Got life to work with.
So at 11. Virtual 10, perhaps, as he has a fetch land that he imagine he'll crack at a point here.
There is that fetch land and Windswept Heath. We head back to Ross.
And James doesn't necessarily have to crack the fetch land right away. The only card he knows on the top of his deck is that Invigorate.
Yep.
He probably will wait until the top of his deck is even worse before doing so. And it couldn't be better. 2 Inkmoth Nexus. No real reason he needs to draw both of them.
Yeah, I think just drawing one at a time is okay. I mean, if you want to clear out your deck a little bit, that's fine. Again, because he's got so much life to work with.
Yeah, he did draw both, I think, just so he gets more looks next turn.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Get him, Noble Hierarch. Show him what regular damage is all about. Here's Inkmoth.
And remember, there is that Wasteland that Tom has been keeping in play for just this. However, if James has held on to that Vines of Vastwood he had a while ago, he could try to protect Inkmoth.
Take a look at 3. There's a Vines in there.
Is he going to draw 2 again? He's at 7. He's got to... Has to be careful.
And he can only draw so many. He doesn't have some life to work with. He's going to fire up Inkmoth Nexus. I think it might be go time. Yep.
Yeah,
James just going to let that happen.
Yeah, he may have... The Vines he had from earlier ago may have gotten shuffled away to a Brainstorm at some point.
Now here comes Noble Hierarch for a little more regular damage, but with the Blight Agent and Inkmoth Nexus here, gonna make things a little bit difficult. Force Will to draw here for Tom. He'll just pass the turn back.
We talked about before, maybe the most important card out of the sideboard is that Sylvan Library, and James is showing us why.
Beatdowns.
Yeah, finds a Glistener Elf this time.
Yeah, it's all about who can find more Infect creatures in the matchup. And I also like not moving in here either.
It's because there's so much they are so tradable that it's just a raw resource count.
Here's Gataxian Probe. I don't think Tom's going to like what he sees.
Okay, so he does have the Vines and an Invigorate. That is not welcome news for Tom Ross.
I really like the way that James is playing this. I just like the patience, how he's paying life with Sylvan Library, just in no real rush. He'd like to get the game over with pretty soon, as he's going to sacrifice a Windswept Teeth. Get a land out of his deck, and this will allow him to shuffle for Sylvan Library and get a clean look. But he's in a good spot right now, and he doesn't have to make any real drastic moves. You know, if Tom had an Infect creature on his side of the table, then we see a little something different, but that's not the case. So as a result, he can kind of take his time a little bit here.
Yeah, he may want to leave back an Inkmoth just in case Tom has a crop rotation, so Tom can't end of turn crop rotate into Inkmoth, activate, and pump. So he may only swing the ground creatures. And that heads up play by James to not activate Inkmoth.
Tom will draw another probe. Oh. I have 2 Vines now.
Which does mean next turn we may see James try for a kill with one of the Vines.
Might be feeling pretty safe.
He may be fine with whatever resource it trades with.
Noble Hierarch might be of interest now. It's just annoying enough because now it's a 2-turn clock.
Yeah. And now with 2 Hierarchs, it's just Blighted Agent that'll swing.
See if this resolves. I think it's something Tom is in a rock and a hard place right now. Noble Hierarch is worthy of being countered. He's going to counter it. Force Will Removing a Daze.
I'll take care of it.
Just the way that it adds to the clock that's not okay.
Yeah, it's a 2-turn, makes it a 2-turn clock. So pitches that to buy himself 1 turn. Tom has a lot of permission in his hand. Now we're late enough in the game, and the problem is that's not helping him with the board. It just does seem in this matchup that a lot of the cards are pretty dead. We see both players having 5-6 card hands that don't accomplish much.
Interesting that we've got Glistener Elf coming in here and not Blighted Agent.
Yeah, Tom will block with... Looks like Tom will block.
There's
Maybe
Invigorate.
it's no blocks. Get a confirmation here. This would be lethal. If there's no blockers. So Invigorate on the stack. Tom is going to Vines the Glistener Elf.
I know what this will effectively do is counter the Invigorate upon resolution.
Yeah, and if it does resolve, James won't be able to pump his creature further.
So just an Infect or 2. Gonna bring Ross up to 6 now. Rynkiewicz at 5 in effect, so Rynkiewicz has taken the lead. Brainstorm.
And that's a card Tom's been waiting for a while. He's been playing 1 card per turn. Brainstorm, at this point in the game, that's just a draw 3.
Yeah, it's got plenty of stuff to throw back. A lot of trash in hand.
He has a fetch land he hasn't cracked. I believe he brainstormed into another brainstorm. Tom, some long overdue cards. We'll see what he can do with them, though. We talked about how he was up 5 infect. When James plays first creature, said how much is that going to do? Well, it's done 6 so far.
It's done pretty good. Oh.
Noble Hierarch attacking here.
Teach him. Learn him a lesson.
Not trivial. And look at this setup by Tom, taking advantage of the fact that James has paid so much to his Sylvan Library.
This is pretty great, actually. Not Noble Hierarch about the dust, since it does have a counter on it.
And an Inkmoth Nexus from Tom. Has he stabilized here?
Yeah, that attack was really good, because James has to respect it the entire way, because he can just die because of regular damage.
You know, 1 Become Immense would do it. And Tom knows James doesn't have blue cards.
Glistener Elf into the red zone. It is a 2-2 because of Noble Hierarch. See if Tom wants to fire up the Inkmoth Nexus to block, or maybe try for the Swords to Plowshares.
Has Tom been able to equalize? Those 2 brainstorms were so good for him. He had so many dead cards he was able to replace. You know, so Tom making a decision here. Does he respect? I mean, he knows James has pump spells. Does he believe he can fight through them all? He's got a Vines, a Swords, and a Spell Pierce.
Tom thinking a lot about this one.
I believe in a Flusterstorm, better than the Spell Pierce. Well, what I believe here is I think Tom, he could take 2 here if he's willing to expend his hand on it. A reason being that if we get into this war where James goes for a lethal pump spell, Tom plays removal, James, tries to shroud, Tom plays removal. At the end of this giant tree of spells, Tom can play a Flusterstorm and just counter every spell on the stack of James. He'll take the 2, but James isn't going to flinch. Does not want to use the pump spells. Well, I guess at this point, it's not just at any point he's not using the pump spells. They serve no purpose anymore.
They've gotten worse, given that Tom has so much infect now.
Right. Vastwood is still reasonable because of the trick we saw Tom use it for, where you shroud your opponent's creatures.
Tom drew a copy of Invigorate. He's firing up Inkmoth Nexus, coming to the red zone.
So rather than fighting the counter war over that last one, he's going to fight it now. Yeah, he's not going to let this block. Can Tom win the fight here?
I think he's going to try to win right now.
Tries to Swords the Inkmoth. Here's a Vines of Vastwood to try to give it Shroud.
Okay.
Yeah, Tom has this covered.
So here's Vines.
This would count, if we were to resolve, this would counter James's Vines.
How about another Vines? Yep. All right. Weird game is weird. Yep. Okay.
Tom, I don't know if he's going to Invigorate.
Targeting his creature first, because he wants to build the spell count for Flusterstorm.
Right, so now he's trying to invigorate his own Inkmoth Nexus. That's the lethal pump spell he had.
Yeah. This is smart to do this now. Okay, this resolve. All right, now I'm going to Flusterstorm your stuff.
Everything. And the storm has gotten up to 6 here, so you can put 3 copies on each of them. That should counter everything on the stack for James.
So now the question is, what is James's last card in hand?
gets a Flusterstorm of his own, he's still not, yeah, he's still not fine because Tom can pay for one of the Flusterstorm copies. Flusterstorming Flusterstorm is just, the math goes crazy.
It's that's why you're here. You're supposed to know.
This is why one of the reasons high-type mirrors were sweet.
So his last card is Flusterstorm? Okay.
All right. So there are 7 copies of this Flusterstorm. So what's important to know is how Tom has targeted the 6 copies of his Flusterstorm. And keep in mind that James can pay for 1 Flusterstorm and Tom can pay for 1 Flusterstorm. How many at each copy of Vines? Okay, so Tom's are split 3 and 3. So there's 3 Flusterstorms on one Vines, 3 Flusterstorm on another Vines. What James can do, well, first of all, is he can just counter the Invigorate outright, and that'll work. So if he wants to lose all this counter war and get his guy swords, that's fine. If he wants to try to say, and he doesn't have to say, James just basically gets to win this. So, and I'll explain what happens here. So first of all, he can use Flusterstorm to counter the Invigorate, which is easy enough because Tom has no more counter magic, so the Invigorate won't work. But the better part is that Tom split up his Flusterstorms 3 and 3 on each of the 2 Vines of Vastwood. Now that's actually, he wants to top load his Flusterstorm copies because all James has to do is the Flusterstorm that was at the top of the stack, the one that would resolve first. James only needs to make sure that one resolves. So he does is he Flusterstorms, and if he has his copies of his Flusterstorms, copy the Flusterstorm copies that are targeting the topmost Vines. Then the topmost Vines resolves first. Then the creature has Shroud. Then the rest of the stack all counters on resolution.
Okay.
And it doesn't matter that James's second Vines doesn't resolve because the creature already has the hexproof ability.
So then the creature gets to block, and then James just gets to kill him on the counter swing.
Yeah, the creature gets to block. So what ends up is James has a 1/1 creature with hexproof.
Yep.
Tom has a 1/1 Igmoth that failed to get pumped. They trade. James attacks with an Exalted Blighted Agent. 2 more damage. James wins the game.
Okay, that was super easy and not complicated. Because Flusterstorm is super easy and not complicated. Thank goodness you're here.
Multiple Flusterstorms is messy. It's not as simple as, I mean, the shorthand version would be the second guy to play Flusterstorm almost always gets to win.
Sure.
But it's not just like, but the question isn't just how much, it isn't what are they, it's like you get to win hard in a counter war when you're the second Flusterstorm person.
We're going to talk about something a little bit easier right now.
Sure.
We're going to take a look at the Season 4 schedule here on the Open Series. Because this is more my wheelhouse of just reading information on the screen to people at home. So see a modern Open Series in Cincinnati. This is easy. September 5th through the 6th. Then we'll do some standard events in Worcester, Milwaukee, and Indianapolis. After that, we'll go to Atlanta for a standard Open Series. We'll do some legacy action in St. Louis, where there will probably be some more Flusterstorms. And you won't be there, so Patrick and I will have no idea what to say when that happens. Modern Open Series in Dallas, standard Open Series in Philly. We'll have a Grand Prix in Atlanta after that. It'll be sealed. More information coming for you guys about that at StarCityGames.com soon enough. A standard Open Series in Kansas City, Legacy Open in New Jersey. Our first time back to Denver in about 2 or 3 years, December 5th through the 6th. Then, of course, we've got our Season 4 Invitational in Las Vegas. Me, you, and Patrick will handle that. And we'll also handle our Players' Championship at the Star City Games Center in Roanoke, Virginia, December 19th through the 20th, where we're going to crown another Players' Champion. However, we got to talk about that Season 4 playmat.
Yeah, this is a good one. This is another one of our creature parody series. This is of a M15 favorite. This is the Hoppin' Rabbit Master here, modeled after Goblin Rabble Master. This is going to be for all Open Series competitors until December 5th. So after the Season 3 Invitational, this is the Season 4 playmat.
This one's sweet. I know a lot of people like it. I've already gotten a lot of Twitter feedback on the Hoppin' Rabbit Master, given the beatdowns with the carrots, and there's probably a lot of other things going on in here. I'm taking a look at what's on the leg of the lead rabbit there. Maybe that's some armor made out of carrot. Not entirely sure, but
Certainly is orange.
Yeah, it is orange. I'm trying to figure out what's going on there, but a really sweet playmat. I know that people who attend the Open Series have really liked the specialty playmats that we've done. And, you know, what's cool about this, you enter an Open Series main event, you get this thing for free. So we'll see you during Season 4, so you can get the Hoppin' Rabbit Master as we do get ready here for game number 3 between Tom Ross and James Rynkiewicz in the Infect Mirror. We had a feeling this would be a pretty good match, and it is not disappointed.
Yeah, so what we've learned from it so far is both players aggressively finding and trading creatures. And they get stuck with a lot of dead cards. So, you know, without saying to oversimplify it, Yeah, creatures seem to be king.
Well, maybe we see a really quick kill here. Who knows? Tom's happy with his opening hand, as is James. Game number 3 underway. About 10 minutes left to go. Tom going to sacrifice. Oh, no. Does he have a
Is he
stifle?
going to stifle? He has a 1 of stifle on his list. Is James losing the land drop for the turn? We will see. I believe so.
He has the 1 of stifle. What a beating.
James not respecting it, and the 1 of stifle gets him on turn 1.
Here's the forest.
But there's no follow-up from Tom.
Nope.
He doesn't have a blighted agent turn 2, so still James with the first infector.
I wonder if Tom boarded that in just to try to get him for game 3. Oh, Tom drawing a lot of lands. Yikes.
This could be a disaster.
There's another fetch land. The boss will sacrifice that. See what land he wants to search up. You have to imagine the Savannah still in the deck. There it is.
There we go. Swords in Tom's hand.
Yep, James already exiling his creature.
But does Tom, without a follow-up, now the question is just, okay, how many creatures are in James's hand? I mean, James' hand looks excellent. He has the 1 of Sylvan Library, a Preordain, and now we see a Blighted Agent.
The boss, another land drawn there, another tropical island.
This doesn't look at all good for Tom.
No, it does not. I think his hand has 4 lands Invigorate. Yeah, 3 lands Invigorate now.
Well, that means his keep was Invigorate, Swords to Plowshares, Stifle, 4 lands, which has got to be on the border of keepable things.
Yeah, yeah. It leads me to believe he kept the hand based off of Stifle. There's Sylvan Library.
Yeah, played off Inkmoth Nexus, nonetheless.
Rynkiewicz starting to run away with this one. Brainstorm's a pretty big draw.
That is hands down the best draw Tom could have.
Yep.
We said he had 3 lands. Let's try to get rid of all of them. As many as we can. It draws land, days, land.
Yeah,
Well, one of them's an
one of them
Inkmoth, so it's not completely dead, but this isn't enough.
The draw steps for Tom Ross are going to be pretty good from here on out. So he's drawn a lot of lands, and the Brainstorm was not a particularly good one. Those 2 cards are going to go back. Inkmoth Nexus the land. He'll pass the turn back. Rynkiewicz will untap Sylvan Library. Will trigger. A lot of life to work with. He's still a 20.
Blighted Agent again in the top 3. Brainstorm, fetch land. James may just take them all, and that's exactly what he does. They're all good. A tough spot for Mr. Ross here. James will lead on Brainstorm. And even if this Brainstorm gets countered, I doubt James cares. Finds Inkmoth, Noble Hierarch. Ponder,
his,
last one.
His card selection engine is fully online now.
Gets rid of 2 fetch lands. So he has a second Inkmoth, a Ponder, a Preordain, a Vines of Vastwood, Noble Hierarch, just everything. He has to be careful, though. So in his mind, there's this chance that Tom's Inkmoth Nexus just tens him out of nowhere. And he's got to be very careful that he doesn't have the blue permission to stop that from happening.
Doesn't want to get sloppy.
Right.
I think that Rynkiewicz is pretty far ahead, but does not want to get sloppy here.
And you see there, I mean, he's so careful. He could have played just Noble Hierarch there and gotten 1 extra point of Infect. And nope, he wants 3 land up.
Wants to be careful.
He wants to be able to Vines and pay for a Spell Pierce. Or a Flusterstorm.
Tom going to sacrifice the fetch land because he knew what was on top of his deck from that Brainstorm, so he needs a fresh draw because his hand's not particularly good right now. He'll take a draw step. It's a copy of Force of Will, not the best draw right now. Rynkiewicz has already got everything he really needs on the battlefield. Not a lot to counter. Another fetch land. Pass the turn back.
And crack of a fetch from Rynkiewicz.
You know, one thing that we rarely see is when Tom goes for it, like he did in that final turn of game 2, normally it's good. And I thought when he had
Yeah,
the
you
Fluster
don't see
Storm,
him lose that one very often.
no, not when there's that huge exchange of spells on the stack. Normally, after he plays the last one, the opponent looks at either their last card or no cards in hand and go, what happened?
Well, it's calculated here. So the only way that Tom loses that counterfight there is if all of James' cards are live and James's last card is a Fluster Storm.
Yep.
But all of those hit.
Here comes Blight Agent. There's another Blight Agent.
James pressing the card advantage here. Even has Ponder and Preordain in hand, not using either.
No rush. No rush.
Looks like a Krosan grip has been added.
You gotta remember something. James Rynkiewicz has won a Grand Prix. We've seen him win Open Series Legacy events before. I know he doesn't have the name and the profile of Tom Ross, but this gentleman on our right here, he is no slouch when it comes to Legacy. He is quite good at this format. Here's a brainstorm from Ross. Glistener Elf, a Gataxian Probe. A couple of cards gonna go back here. Looks like a Daze is gonna go back pretty quick. Tom, not interested in that card.
Shoe back here.
He'll sacrifice a fetch line now. Go a little bit lower, get a land out of his deck. More importantly, shuffle his deck.
Tom doing a good job of reloading, but he is behind on the board in a big way. As we know, that Inkmoth Nexus in play that Tom has is covered in Krosan grip by James.
Well, now Tom knows.
Now Tom has Ponder, Preordain, Noble Hierarch, Vines of Astwood, Krosan grip from James. All of this with a Sylvan Library in play.
There's still a lot of life to work with since he's at 11.
Tom at 3 Infect.
Another Verdant Catacombs drawn for the boss. Noble Hierarch. Glistener Elf. Passing the turn back. Rynkiewicz will activate the Sylvan Library, take a look at the top 3, Invigorate and Vines of the Vastwood among them. Rynkiewicz down to 7.
Right.
Now, there is something out there that can deal normal damage in Noble Hierarch, and we have seen Tom do things with normal damage before.
Well, what it did previously is it forced James to actually just trade one of his creatures with the Noble Hierarch.
Looks like Rynkiewicz is going to deploy the Noble Hierarch he's had in his time for a little while.
Yeah, not sure how much he wants to actually swing here. He's going to go, and this is good, rather than swinging 2 Blighted Agents, can just play Noble Hierarch, swing 1 Blighted Agent, leave back more blockers, continue to press the card advantage he's built with using Sylvan Library. And you see just how conservative James is playing it, not even using any of his cantrips.
I like how he has played this game through and through. He's been very patient. We'll see if he ends up being too patient. Tom reaching for old Glistener Elf. Not sure if it's going to come in or not. Looks like it is. Blight Agent going to block real fast. Glistener Elf is going to bite the dust because it has an Infect counter on it, so Rynkiewicz will activate that Sylvan Library again.
Glistener Elf in the top 3, but he's going to go for a fetch land.
Probably wants a clean look. Here comes Blight Agent, it's exalted.
Yeah, he does have a Invigorate, so he's going to go for the kill here. It's pretty free. It'll force Tom to expend cards from his own hand to stop it.
Can force some action.
There's a hard cast Force of Will looming.
There it is.
I wonder, does James go for the lethal Vines here?
I think James thinks he's pretty safe at this point. There's an attempt.
finds his kicker.
James Rynkiewicz going to win this match here over Tom Ross. 2-1. The Infect Mirror goes to the Legacy Grand Prix champion. He moves on to 11-3. Unclear if he'll be able to draw next round. I think he'll probably have to play for it. The standings will, of course, dictate that. But a very, very impressive win nonetheless. Beating, really, the person who put Infect on the map. First time we've really seen Rynkiewicz play this deck in a Legacy event, especially on the Open Series, but impressive nonetheless. Takes down Tom Ross. Very fun second game to watch, too, with that back and forth with Flusterstorms.